Hey kids, uh, Nathan here. This is a hard video to make. This one gets me a little. Um, I'm scared. I'm scared of losing my life or my freedom from a very real threat. Um, yeah, I found out that I'm under investigation. I've been on the watch list many times. Uh, uh, Yeah, but this time worries me. I've got cops outside of my house, casually uh, trying to get information off of me. It's a mess. I guess I won't go into all the details of why I'm afraid, um, but this is a tricky one where my voice can be silenced. I'm not big, not famous. Um, Yeah, my voice can absolutely be silenced. I can be killed. I can be imprisoned. Um, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is that it's an unwinnable cause. Um, it, I like to get high. I like to get high. I don't impose that on others. I don't get other people high without their consent. Um, yeah, yeah. I like to get high. And you can imprison me. I'm still gonna get high. There's prison guards that smuggle in drugs every day. You still get high in prison. Everyone knows that. That's not going to be the end of my getting high. You can kill me, but then some other kid, just like me, is going to find out that they love drugs from the DARE program, which is where I learned that I love drugs. Um, yeah, it's not something you can get rid of. Get rid of. Um, yes, it is a lifestyle choice. I chose drugs, um, but fundamentally, the reason that I chose drugs is not a choice. I'm a person, and I'm a person who decided that I like to get high. The concept of getting high appealed to me, and the practice also appealed to me. Um, the downsides I weighed carefully with any possible upsides, and I made my choice. Um, but I feel I made that choice based on again, the type of person that I am. And when it comes down to it, you can't beat that type of person out of existence. Um, there's always going to be more like me that are born. And then what are you going to do? Start all over? Yeah, yeah. Basically, what it comes down to is you can't have a war against a type of person. You can't do that. If anything, the fight for civil rights from our gay and homosexual and transgender and uh, all those types of people has shown that you can't have a war on a type of person. And everyone hesitates to include drug users. They're the victims of drug exposure. They were unknowingly exposed to a drug and then became an addict, and then from that point on, it was all out of their control. I don't buy that. It's a type of person, plain and simple. I'm a type of person, and yeah, they're trying to quelch my civil rights. Um, I have the right to pursue happiness, life, and liberty, same as anyone else. The means by which I pursue that happiness are chemical, hell, biological. Almost every drug, as I've stated before, is plant-based, whether you like to admit it or not. It just is. Um, yeah, you can't have a war on a type of person. Uh, People will always go underground, and whether they're free to do things or not, they will do them. Whether it be banned books and knowledge, or practices like religion or homosexuality, or drug use. People will always find a way. There'll always be some cave somewhere where loadies are getting high without government acceptance. You can't have a war against the type of people. The stakes are essentially this. I have a brain injury which left me without a functional memory. I have a home. It is my last connection to this world. It's the last home that I had before my injury, because of my memory disorder. It is the only home that I know. If it weren't my home, I would still try to come here thinking that it was my home. Without my disability payments, I wouldn't be able to afford this home and keep it. That would be the end of me. Not exaggerating, I'm not threatening, I'm just saying. If I were to be incarcerated, that would end my disability payments and end my home, effectively ending my life. I would be released from my prison term to nothing. I would have maybe some place to go, but I wouldn't know how to get there. I would still try to come here to the Belafonte. If the Belafonte were to burn down and I couldn't rebuild, I would be equally screwed. That would be the end of my life. So the stakes are very, very real for me. If I were to be imprisoned for any amount of time, more than 30 days, I'd lose my disability. If I lose my disability, I lose my home. So the threat is very real. All they have to do is catch me for more than 30 days on some bullshit charge. And they are all bullshit. I've gone over many times what I feel about the war on drugs. It's a war against a kind of people. And yeah, I'm very much looking at the end of my life because of it. And I love life. I love being alive. Let that be said. I don't appreciate the threat against my life and my well-being. I hate that the threat is built up in so many people's minds as trying to preserve some sort of moral or ethical high ground by those people who choose to stay sober. There's no high ground there. In some cases, they're shirking their personal responsibility, like with DMT. I believe that more people, especially people of good thinking skills, need to try it so that we can figure out exactly what if any bearing it has on reality. Because I believe there is one. There is some. Yeah. Don't let cowardice be your cause and your torch, that you were too afraid to smoke a joint behind the gym when you were in high school, and you're too afraid to try DMT in an older age. Don't let that be the crusade that you use to destroy other folk. There's nothing right about it. It's evil. It's plain and simple evil. And I know this is Satan's system. A lot of people try to shirk that truth. But it is. It's a fact. And so I should expect nothing but evil. You shouldn't expect, I guess, God's great day to come during your time, because no one knows the hour, all that. But still, I'm afraid. I'm afraid to lose my home and therefore my life. The fear's real, and the threat is real. We need to change the system. I'm a naturalist, probably just slightly more than I am a Christian. I believe that math supports God. I've explained that before. I believe that knowledge shouldn't be ignored. I believe that math proves God. And that's not a subjective truth. It's just an objective truth that others haven't come to yet. And I believe that, pursuing my happiness is just taking advantage of the gifts that God gave us. These things grow out of the ground. How is that not a gift from God? I guess you could also argue that cyanide grows out of the ground. But that's kind of the reality that God made, isn't it? He made both good and bad. And we live in a playing field where those things work themselves out. I'm just afraid that the bad is going to overtake me. And that sucks. That sucks. So what do we need to do? What do I propose? We need to change society. We need to change as a society together. We need to be accepting of different kinds of people. Because just like a classroom, there are benefits to inclusivity. Different races, different religions, different kinds of people are what made this nation great. Not Trump, not his supporters. They're just blinding themselves or embracing their blindness, one of the two, for personal gain at the expense of other people. I don't know who would gain by me being taken out of society, but I'm sure they exist. And I know who would gain from me being included in society. Everyone. I'm a beautiful person. I make art, and I make rational, understandings. I have a generally good thought process. I benefit other people. People like me benefit other people. I love the Tool album, I believe it was, where they have the quote, all those artists and things that you appreciate, the rhythms that you dance to, and the pictures that you view that bring value to your life. And I'm very much paraphrasing here. They were brought to you by people real high on drugs. People benefit from drugs. Yes, it's a drain on society when people choose their drug habits over basic things like not stealing from your friends and neighbors, not supporting yourself with a job. That burdens society. True. That's a fact. We've got to find a way to lessen the burden and increase the benefit. You're never going to get rid of drugs. You're never going to get rid of people who like drugs. That's never going to happen. Period. The end. It's an emergent quality. I've discussed that in other videos too. So how do we treat the bad and embrace the good? Because there is very much good that comes from drugs. Well, that part's easy. Embracing the good is always embracing the good. Take advantage of the art made by drug users. Take advantage of the music. Take advantage of the general good demeanor. How do we treat the bad? Those that choose to not support themselves with a job, or choose to steal from their friends and neighbors to support a habit, or generally just leech off society. How do we treat that? Well, I've talked about what not to do with treatment. The way we do it is what not to do. Abstinence is not real. It's not an option. I had one friend that seemed to have been the poster child of treatment working, of them changing their lives and going a new direction and making good of it. I had one friend that did that. And I know this is anecdotal evidence, but I've met a lot of people. I used to work at a job that had a high turnover rate and a floor of 300 people, which meant that I've met literally tons of people, thousands, not just through that job, but in general. Again, it's anecdotal, but I think it holds true. Yeah, you have to excuse me organizing my thoughts. Again, I have the brain injury. They don't come as easily as they once did, and there definitely takes a certain sorting out. So I apologize. This is a kind of a slow moving video. But yeah, there's so much on my mind, and it takes a certain amount of sorting. Yes, but anyway, so how do we treat the real issues? How do we get users who aren't going to stop, who, yeah, like I said, I had one friend that showed maybe it was possible, but they in fact stepped back. They didn't revert to their old ways. They made real changes in their life and used those changes to adapt their use structure and are still successful. It's still a successful treatment case, even though they use. I think they made it a few years before using again, but did ultimately come back to the fold because, like I said, abstinence doesn't work. If you want to abstain for the rest of your life, that's great. I support that, as I've said before. Um, but to enforce abstinence on someone who doesn't want it is a fucking crime. So what do we do? What are the actual ways to fix these problems? I believe in the role model system. I had role models when I learned to do drugs. They taught me harm reduction. They taught me responsibility, personal responsibility, and civil responsibility. They taught me how to keep a relationship, which I failed at myself, but I still believe is possible. And they taught how to keep a job, a career, how to balance your checkbook. Those things can all still be taught. They can be taught regardless of your societal class or education level, because there's no such thing as an uneducated person. There are just levels of education, and those levels bring clarity, true, but you can always educate someone further. And that's the great thing about being alive. One of them. And yeah, education not based on abstinence, but based on embracing people, kinds of people. I don't think that it's a choice that I made to use drugs so much as it is a choice that I made to embrace my life. And my life very much led to drugs. Not because I was exposed to them, not because somebody snuck some into my drink when I wasn't looking and I got addicted. It was a careful weighing of knowledge and deciding to do it based on the information that I had, which I tried very hard to make sure was accurate, and I believe was. I didn't choose to be me, but I chose to embrace me. Now, that might be splitting hairs, but fundamentally, I think it's irrelevant. I'm a person, and I chose to be the most me that I could be. And I think that's a good thing. I think I'm a beautiful person. All ego aside, or maybe some ego still involved. That's what I think. Yeah. So, yeah, there is such a thing as treatment for the societal woes that result from some people embracing drugs. There are those that I feel should not have ever started, and if they would have taken the time that I took to weigh those factors, I think they would have come to the same conclusions and avoided the whole thing, but they didn't. And so now we have to deal with them. That's fine. Yeah, abstinence is just clearly not the way to go, logically. There's no basis for it ever having worked, ever in our history. And I say our history, I don't see a fundamental line between a drug user and a sober person as far as people go. It's not their history and their history, it's our history. And yeah, abstinence has never worked for anything ever, and never will. Yeah, role models, I believe, can. But this system that we do embrace and have embraced, the war on drugs and all, have brought the downfall of that way of doing things. There's no role models anymore. We've clubs them all. Well, I take that back. Dr. Hart is a role model, and I've gone over this before too. He loves heroin. I despise heroin. I'm absolutely not for it. But at the same time, seeing that there's folks out there who can make it work and enjoy it themselves, I don't think it should be taken off the table. I don't think that it shouldn't be available for them to use. It enriches their lives, and their lives enrich my life. So I'm not against heroin to that degree. I'm against it as in I don't like using it. If there's anything else around, I'll do that first. But hell, if there's nothing else around and I'm desperate, I'll do a little heroin. Very little. Take a nap, sleep through it. But I'm getting way off the point here. And I'm forgetting what the point is. I'm just scared. And I don't like that feeling. It's time for us to grow as a society and get past these issues. And these issues are not drug issues. They're issues with the type of people that often chooses to do drugs. Criminals, thieves, often choose drugs. Does that mean they're the only ones that choose drugs? Does that mean drugs make criminals and thieves? No. Good people choose drugs also. That's a fact. That's an objective truth. And what are the ways around these choices? Well, it's to build them up, to educate them past their stupid thieving or criminal activity. Because I believe that's fundamentally the issue. Choosing to commit crimes or choosing to steal or hurt people, hurt people without cause. There is such a thing as a just cause. But I'm not going to go into that. People who hurt people in general, we'll say. Yeah, it's a lack of education. People can grow past that. We've all seen the stories of the people who learned that lesson in life that had escaped them and led to their activities that hurt people. And they finally got the lesson and moved past it. We're not building lessons. We're not teaching these people. We're punishing them. And even if you think, as most people do, that their addiction to something that they were exposed to that we could have prevented their exposure to is what's leading them to this criminal activity, like all that bullshit, which isn't true. Even if you accept all those things, you're still doing it wrong. You're punishing people for a decision that they never made and don't have the ability to make otherwise. You're punishing them. And you're using that punishment to try and say that it dissuades other people from making that decision. That's not true. You're just punishing people. And taking away lives. A life spent in prison, aside from the writings that can come of it, is basically a death. You've killed that person. If you're going to sentence them to life in prison, you might as well just kill them. Again, aside from some of the writings that we get there, and some of the writings are beautiful. I have no specific examples on hand, but somebody does, surely. There's been a lot of good things written in prison. Ha! Thompson said that. A lot of wonderful books have been written in prison. Sorry, that was an unintentional quote. Yeah, you're punishing people for a decision that you say they can't make. That's just stupid. That's just stupid. And yeah, so even with the way that you people, and I'm saying this again in general society, not of course to my beloved viewers, who I don't think are those people, but some of them are. Some of them are. One of my best friends, who is a drug user, loves the war on drugs, thinks it's a great idea, thinks that drugs are a scourge on humanity and on his life. And that's not true, and I've argued it a million times, and I think someday he'll see the light. Someday. But that's the facts, is that we're dealing with people, kinds of people, who have different viewpoints. And I want to educate that person further to get onto a level that's more acceptable to me. I don't want to punish them into oblivion and then deal with the next crop of them that comes up and punish those people into oblivion. That's not the way to handle this at all. Education first is the way to deal with it, not abstinence. Educating people on how to balance their checkbooks, how to maintain a job, how to do things that should be so basic, but their parents failed them. I've failed my children in many different levels. I understand that that's a risk, and society has to deal with my kids and everyone else's kids whose parents have failed them. I was a child whose parents failed them, but I came around, and I think I'm a good person. I really do, and I think I'm a person that benefits other people by sharing my insights. Yeah, and that's the way to handle this. Education, not punishment. Yeah, role models, as I so often like to say. Yeah. I think I'm going to sum it up there. Real quick, before I do that, before I end this video, I would like to share a story from my father, between me and my father. I once asked if he was ashamed of me and the life that I'd chosen. And he's an ex-soldier. He actually not enlisted, but came out of retirement to follow the soldiers that he had trained to the war in Iraq. He went to war. Anyway, I say that because his response to me was golden. He said, "Son, I fought and served this country so that people like you could be free to be you." And I think that's amazing. Were I gay or black or anything else that some people disagree with, my father fought so that I could be religiously opposed to war. I choose not to fight. But he stood up very much and put his life on the line so that I could make that choice. I think that's a big deal. Sorry, I had to interrupt myself. I'm going to end this video. I don't know if I'm going to release it right away. I think I might put it on one of those Google time release things to where if I just stop checking the box or moving back the release date, it releases automatically. I might do one of those. I think I'm going to do one of those for the event of my death too, just in case. But yeah, I'm going to end it here and say this. We need more education. We need change in society. Quickly, dear God, before they consume me. Keep your stick on the ice.